Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. As we get set, we are 10 days and counting before the season opener for North Dakota State against Robert Morris and the big gala they have planned, a banner and everything for the 2012 season opener. I have in my hand, this is the updated depth chart, Jeffrey. As we look and examine this, as everyone out there in Bison land will as well, I think the biggest attention has to go on the offensive line when you look at left guard and right tackle, the two spots we've been focusing on for a majority of fall camp.
Two freshmen, Dom, looks like are going to get the starting nod. Joe Hagee, walk-on from Brainerd a year ago, and has worked himself up to 280 pounds and is the starter. He's taken that job from Paul Kornick. No small task there, is there? And then at Josh Colville, left guard, I think he's been the guy all camp.
Out of Minnetonka, who's trying to replace a four-year starter in Austin Richard. It's not crazy for the Bison to play freshmen on the offensive line. 2010, they did it in two true freshmen, in Jesse Hines and Billy Turner. But Craig Bohl has made no bones about it. That is his biggest question mark. And it's something we're not going to know the answer to until, I don't even know if we'll have an answer at Robert Morris. It might be till Colorado State till we know what's going on.
Robert Morris-a-Palooza, is that what you're getting at? I remember the first Division I game was Valparaiso, and that was all Valapalooza, 56-0 or something like that. It was the big hoopla. I think the team and the staff is actually ready to get last season behind as fast as they can and get on to this season. Biggest question mark offensive line, Zach Johnson, true freshman, is number 2 on the 2 deep at left guard. Now, I talked to the head coach yesterday, and he didn't think any redshirt freshmen were going to play. So which is it, Coach?
I think that's also something we won't know until maybe the second quarter of Robert Morris, when we see maybe a Zach Johnson play, or we see a linebacker who's a true freshman getting in there, or D. Gray at wide receiver.
Sure, you don't have to make the decision right now. And we've seen red shirts being taken off during the season, so they may wait and see how the season progresses.
Sam O'Jury is one of them back in 2009. He was, I think they had full intentions of not playing him, and just because they only had Pat Bichal and no one else at running back, is that Sam got thrown in the mix.
You can go up and down the line. Preston Evans got his redshirt pulled during the season. Brandon Jemison, yes.
You look at other couple of positions that stand out to me. Tight end, Garrett Brune, who we feared was lost for the season with a numbness in his shoulder before fall camp got started. We saw him at practice 2 weeks ago. Looked pretty good, made a couple nice catches. He's listed at starting at tight end.
And I guess you have to get tested with that shoulder, correct? That's kind of one of the things they're waiting for. And he may have gotten tested in the scrimmage, although we were blacked out of that one, and we'll never know the results of that. But, you know, I think, again, that's something that we'll see as the season goes along.
Free safety is the one position, as we look on the depth chart, that is the one that still has a question mark next to it. You have the incumbent moving from a different position in Christian Dudzik and Brian Shepard, which has been kind of neck and neck throughout all of fall camp.
No question mark in my mind. I think those two players both play anyway. I don't think it's a big deal.
Corner is loaded. And that's something you really you talked to me about back in spring ball, and now as we've seen it develop throughout fall camp, there's 10 guys that can play there, and I don't think they really blink at all.
You know, back in 04, 05, I want to say Cal Poly came to the Fargo Dome with two corners that absolutely shut down NDSU's offense, just manned up, and NDSU had nowhere to go. I see a similar look in this NDSU team, too. It reminds me of that Cal Poly team, only deeper at that spot with Marcus Williams and Brendan Pierre. I mean, those are two shutdown corners in my mind. Backing them up, Andre Martin's been around the block, you know, 1,000 times from Northern Iowa.
Played a lot too last year.
Yeah, there's just a lot of players, and it'll allow some of those younger kids like C.J. Smith to develop too.
Let's look at linebacker. Obviously, the big news of the day yesterday was Esley Thornton moving into that, and then we see him. He's already listed as backup to Carlton Littlejohn at the Sam linebacker, and now there were three guys at it linebacker that played during the spring. You look at Alex Lavoie, who had a great spring game, Nick Scolari, who the coaches really liked, and Joey Sonnenfeld, who was moving from safety to linebacker. Are you surprised to see Esley already listed as backup?
And plus, Bobby Ullman was getting some time too in this fall camp too. Yes, I'm a little surprised that after one day he's number 2 on depth chart. I got to reserve my judgment on this one.
Well, I guess that means we'll probably see him play against Robert Morris then at linebacker.
Absolutely. If you're number 2, I would think you'd play number 2.
That lends to that. On the flip side, you talk about positions of strength. You mentioned corner. In my mind, it's defensive line. You look at the guys there, the 8 guys at least listed on there, that is a pretty solid unit. Obviously, led by Cole Jurek, Levon Perry, and Ryan Drevlo. But their backups, Brian Schatz, who had a great spring, Danny Lukey, who I know you did a feature on last week, looks really good. And I think Mike Hardy is going to be the standout of the Bison defense this season. He looks like Coulter Boyer ×2 up front.
Yeah, and they've always been tough at defensive end.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Kyle Manuel's been really outstanding.
He's been overlooked too. He's only a sophomore.
I think part of the problem at tackle for NDSU is they've been going against Kyle Manuel, who has almost been really tough to block. Little question mark, I think, on the injury front. I'm not really sold on Juckham's knees.
Yeah.
I think there could be some problem there. And, you know, Drevelo's been out too a little bit. And Ryan Drevelo is the absolute run stopper of that defense. When he's healthy and in there, and just somehow he's just got that leverage ability to knock things up. And then you got Levon Perry, I think, in line for an All-American year, provided that Drevelo is, I mean, that's just, it's deep everywhere you go, if healthy.
Youngstown State, everybody will circle that. That was the game that Ryan Drevelo didn't play. Youngstown ran for almost 240 yards in that game, and the Bison lost. So there's your formula right there,
There's your formula right there, and, you know, you could go back previous years, too, when that spot is lacking in the Tampa 2 defense.
NDSU has lost.
Everything NDSU's lost, yeah.
Let's mention quarterback real quick, because 2 years ago, before the 2010 season, you and I talked, we did a video blog saying, we don't know what to make a quarterback. Now they're at a spot where they can afford to lose 2 guys, as Ryan Stanford transferred and Esley Thornton moved, and Craig Bohl still feels as confident as ever with his quarterbacks. That's about as stark a change as you can have.
Well, I think these 3 are probably a little better than any 3 they've had at one point, although, you know, to rely on a true freshman at number 3, I think is a little suspect.
It's scary,
best. It's
no
a little
doubt.
Scary. You know, Carson Wentz just is coming off a high ankle sprain. He was shown he's vulnerable a little bit to an injury. Brock Jensen, as his freshman year, was susceptible to injuries. So I'm not as confident, I guess, as the head coach in the fact that spot is absolutely rock solid. But you know, as long as they're healthy or relatively healthy, and they don't they don't restrict the playbook like they did with Jensen 2 years ago.
Here's the thing, with an untested offensive line, at least a couple spots, I don't know if that means the quarterback gets hit more. I guess we're going to have to find out what happens when the season gets going.
That's a good question.
We'll see what happens.
That's why you're a good reporter.
I appreciate that. Now, football is not the only sport that's getting going. The volleyball season begins for NDSU this Friday. The 3-time defending Summit League champs, they've been to the NCAA tournament 3 of the last 4 years. Carrie Thompson lost 2 of her huge players, though, in Christy Knuth and Jennifer Lopez. Brings back 3 talented seniors for a Bison team that was picked again to win the Summit League championship.
Big question mark, though, on Bison camp has to be replacing Jen Lopez, the setter who was there for 4 years.
No doubt.
In 4 great years. She was so good on the court, but she was so good off it, too. She's a great leader. And that position, if we just got done talking about football, it is the quarterback of volleyball. And you have 2 first-year players to the program. You have Catherine Yeager transferring from Michigan, and you have Emily Reese, a freshman from Wisconsin. Those are the 2 setters right now, taking this team into the first match. Well, no, I don't know. Again, that's a big question mark. To be picked as for the Summit League champions, I'm just not so sure you can be a Summit League favorite without a proven setter.
And they went into last year, they played a really difficult schedule. You remember, they challenged Iowa State, nearly beat them in 5 sets. They nearly beat Northern Iowa in 5 sets. They're going to do it again this year. They're playing at Wisconsin. They play Drake. This is a team that has stepped up and played. They'll play Minnesota as well, a team they've lost to in the NCAA tournament 3 times, but have yet to get over that hump. I'm curious to see how they'll play with a younger group still playing the top teams in the country.
You do have Bryn Jokey back there, and she's been around a long time. I think Lambertson's one of the best middle hitters and hitters in the Summit League. Andrea Henning's been around. And Lauren Kamak, I think, is going to have to up it just another notch.
Carissa Whalen played a lot, too, last year as a freshman.
But she showed some good signs. So I think the talent's there. The setter is the big question.
We mentioned, too, in other sports, in baseball and basketball, we've hammered the loss of Oral Roberts. But the ORU volleyball team has always been really good as well. So that opens the door as well to say, well, it's the Bison, and then who else in this league? IPFW, obviously, has proven to be the biggest thorn in the Bison side over the last couple of years.
Yeah, those are the 3 programs. Now, this is Oral Roberts' swan song, correct?
No, they're gone.
They're gone.
They are gone now, so that's it.
So
the league looks completely different
NDSU,
now.
IPFW.
Yeah, and we'll see who else rises up. If it's Nebraska, Omaha, if it's somebody else coming out of the woodwork. South Dakota State has also got a nice team that they think is pretty highly in.
Better get my Summit League glasses
right?
on.
A new season is here. We're getting closer. 1 week from now, we will go game by game our predictions for the 2012 football season. You were 1 better than me last year in that.
And I'll probably be 1 better again this year, I would imagine.
There you have it, folks. The latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.